recommendations are really social proof, right? When we have recommendations from our clients, from our referral partners, from people that we're working for and that we're serving, it really helps others to see that we're good at what we do. Now, the interesting thing and what we're going to talk about today is different kinds of testimonials or referrals will help you at different phases in the sales cycle. And so that's a little bit of what we're going to cover today is how do we leverage our client recommendations, testimonials on LinkedIn to help us move the sale at every point of the process.
Welcome to the Making Sales Social podcast, featuring the top voices in sales, marketing, and business. Join Bryn Tillman, Stan Robinson Jr., and me, Bob Woods, as we each bring you the best tips and strategies our guests are teaching their clients so you can leverage them for your own virtual and social selling. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody. It's time for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link Virtual Studios. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman and Stan Robinson Jr. are joining me today. How are you all doing?
Howdy.
I'm pretty good. I'm
Very good,
one-footed,
thanks.
but yep.
One-footed Bryn Tillman.
As well. Yeah, that's all. It's all good. I'm hopping around.
Yeah. Good thing you only need 1 foot to do Making Sales Social Live. So we are.
Yeah.
We are absolutely good to go, especially today, because we're diving into an angle of LinkedIn that we don't really talk a lot about, but we're going to talk about it today. And that's leveraging LinkedIn recommendations throughout your sales process. And we're not just talking about, your open, your close, all that type of stuff. We mean several different areas where recommendations can help. So first, let's talk about recommendations, what they are, how they help overall, and so on, before we actually get into the actual 7. I'm not sure who wants to handle that, but go ahead.
I'm always happy to chat.
Yes, you are.
Recommendations are really social proof, right? When we have recommendations from our clients, from our referral partners, from people that we're working for and that we're serving, it really helps others to see that we're good at what we do. Now, the interesting thing and what we're going to talk about today is different kinds of testimonials or referrals will help you at different phases in the sales cycle. And so that's a little bit of what we're going to cover today is how do we leverage our client recommendations, testimonials on LinkedIn to help us move the sale at every point of the process.
Yeah, and Bryn, as you so succinctly put it, social proof. That's one of the things that recommendations give. And it's always better to have someone else talk about what a great job that you did than for you to try and explain what a great job you did. It just comes across much better. And of course, when they write the recommendation, their profile picture is right there next to the recommendation.
Yeah. We can use that everywhere, right? We can use that in emails on our website. We can use that. It's great that it lives on LinkedIn. And why I'd prefer to start there is, not only is it social proof, but if you go to a website and you see a testimonial, you're like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. But you can now click through to that person, to Stan's point, right? And see who they are. And it's it just has so much credibility.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that I like about this whole process is that, as we've taught in the past, recommendations go two ways. We also give recommendations as well as receive them. And let's just say, for example, you want to give someone a recommendation and they happen to be in sales. This probably works better with like sales people, but you're wondering what you can say specifically about them. You can actually go through this list, and once we're through with it, you can say, oh, this person really helped me, for example, and we're going to be talking about this in a minute, but this person really helped me sell this project to other people within the company. Why don't I give them a recommendation based on that? And then you can actually get with the person who you're giving recommendations to as well and say, hey, listen, I've got 7 different areas I can give you recommendations in. Which one would you want? Do you want me to do a couple of different ones? So always remember the reciprocity part when it comes to recommendations as well. And, you can even start off with giving someone a recommendation, and then they'll say, hey, I'd like to give you a recommendation too. And then again, you can go through the list and say, remember when I did this for you? If you could speak to how effectively that worked for you, that would be fantastic.
Or you can offer to write it for them.
You can offer to write it for them as well. And that quite frankly is probably the better way to do it. So offering to write it for them really takes a lot of pressure off them, because they're not staring into that blank piece of paper syndrome that we all know and love whenever it happens to us. If they copy and paste it, they can make changes and things like that. It's just a really good springboard to get that recommendation started for that other person.
I laughed when you said the blank paper. I don't even think I have paper.
Yeah. Paper doesn't really exist anymore, except for me and Post-it notes. And those go.
Well, I actually have digital Post-it notes that I'm using.
Oh, wow. I never got into digital Post-it notes. For some reason, I still need that little bit of paper around. And I do mean all around both of my monitors to help me remind me of things. So with that, let's get into the nitty-gritty of each phase and how recommendations can help. So I'm going to get started, I think, with top of the funnel. So at top of the funnel recommendations discussed how informative and resourceful you were at the very beginning of a relationship. This will lead people to have them want to talk to you. So by showcasing recommendations that highlight how informative, how helpful, how resourceful you are, and you were to that person, you're making a strong first impression, which is one of the big things that we talk about here all the time. When you develop yourself as a thought leader and trusted advisor through recommendations, this naturally encourages prospects to initiate contact because they've already seen the value in connecting with you. And if they don't initiate contact and you're coming to them first, they can certainly go to your recommendations and see, oh, wow, this person was really good when this conversation first started between them.
So Stan, you want to add to that?
No, just that is great. And for that type of recommendation, when you're positioning yourself as a resource, that's an instance where it's really helpful for you to craft it and send the person a draft, because it may be hard for them to think about, okay, how do I position Bob as a thought leader? I realize that offering to write your own recommendation, which is what we're recommending people do, may sound counterintuitive, but when you think about it, you're saving the other person time and mental effort, and people will thank you for it. It will also mean that many more of them will actually give you the recommendations that they promised to give you, because you've done the heavy lifting for them and they don't have to figure it out.
So I'm just going to add to this, which is, I think, really important. This very top of the funnel, this content that you're providing them is what's earning you the right to get into their sales process, to be a vendor of choice. So when we're talking about leveraging referrals, and we really want to have our client express how easy it was to contact us, how quickly we responded, how we truly listened to, and provided value without even having to pay us or work with us. So, that is that top of the funnel, that if our prospects see that recommendation and they're like, wow, there's not pressure, they're not going to sell me. There's not pressure here. Look at the value they're bringing at the very first conversation, and that will help you earn that first conversation.
Absolutely. And that's what it's ultimately all about. So now let's go from that initial contact conversation to the discovery call, what we call the insights call. Most people call it the discovery call. Bryn, do you want to take that a little bit more?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So you really want to enable your client to say, Bob took great efforts to understand our needs. He really helped us to uncover things that we weren't even aware were challenges, right? And because of that, we were able to kind of move forward in a direction that could help us fix the challenge much more efficiently. And in addition to Bob helping us, he was able to introduce us to other people as well that could help us and support us in this newly uncovered challenge. So now they're like, wow, not only were they resourceful up front, but now the value that Bob brought to the table during discovery was really about uncovering our true needs, really helping to dive in so that we could see what was underlying in all of those challenges. So that kind of recommendation will move you from the first conversation to a true discovery call, because they are now going to want Bob to help them the same way he helped the client that made the recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. I view it as this and bringing this through with the recommendation. This stage is about listening and adding value without pitching. That's probably the other big thing. Showing the prospect rather that you are invested in their success, and that's why we call it a bit more of an insights call than a discovery call. But at the same time, you are showing interest. You really want them to succeed. You are helping them, actually helping them, not just talking about how you help them, which is kind of a spin on a phrase that I like to say. So I think all that's great. Stan, do you have anything to add there?
Just that the recommendation is one other tool that you can use to provide a story that helps the potential client see how you've helped someone with an example of someone that you worked with, because stories help to bring things to light, so to speak, just make them more clear.
I think that's critical. I love that.
That's critical. Absolutely. So the next stage has to do with selling internally. So this is when you are providing content, you're providing other ways to help that person who may be a decision maker, is probably more than likely a champion, and others need to come in and also sign off on that deal as well. Because keep in mind that old statistic, there are 6.8 people who are involved in any B2B buying decision. So Stan, do you want to take that a little bit more?
Yes, and I'll do a yes and as far as emphasizing the number of people who are involved in the buying decision, because LinkedIn's latest statistics say it's 11 to 20 these days. It just keeps going up. Partially because Zoom has made it so much easier for more and more people to kind of get involved. And even the CEOs they want buy-in. So, there used to be selling to veto. And now, even if you get to the very important top officer, a lot of times they're going to push you back down. So as far as selling internally, all I'll say is that you do have to kind of coach your champion in how to help sell you internally. And one of the things about the LinkedIn recommendations is that the colleagues that they're selling you to will look at your LinkedIn profile. And so one of the things you can coach your champion to do is say, just direct them to this particular recommendation, and I think it'll solve this issue that the last CFO brought up that we were working with. And here's an issue that the last operations director raised and how we help them navigate it. So by coaching them and referring them to some of the recommendations that you've collected, it can kind of help make their life a little bit easier.
So that is so brilliant. When we were talking about this, that was not what I had in mind, but oh my gosh, that is absolutely brilliant. I love that. Where my head was when we were talking about selling internally is that our champion writes a recommendation, how easy we made it for them by providing them all they need. But the idea that once we have that, that we are actually using that recommendation to help them sell us internally is like bonus. It's like cherries on the sundae. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the only thing that I would add to that is that you have to know where these different or who these different people are who you're trying to help your contact also sell, for lack of a better phrase, because content for a company CFO, for example, is markedly different than content for the CIO or the I can't CFO, CIO, HR if HR needs to get involved, or like that type of thing. So just keep that in mind, that you can't just develop one piece of content and then expect that to resonate with each individual stakeholder within the company. I think that that's very important. And then when the person is writing the recommendation, they can even about you, they can even say, this person even tailored content to each of these different stakeholders, and that's what made this experience all the more beneficial.
Mic drop. Awesome.
Yep. Number 4, overcoming objections. So this is where you proactively offer, say, an FAQ page or an FAQ list or other types of content that help your buyers overcome obstacles in the buying process before they even come roadblocks sometimes. So then when you're getting recommendations from the people in this specific type of area, you can you can definitely have them highlight the fact that that they appreciated the fact that you anticipated their objections and were able to either provide content or just answer those objections, especially if you can do that in a proactive type of sense.
So I love that. I'm going to just throw in, I probably, from my perspective, and I don't know what the word is, but I don't think I'd use the words objections in the content, right? Like it's FAQs, question and answers. And then when they're writing the recommendation, you could have Stan anticipated my questions and was very prepared to answer a lot of those even before I thought of them, right? And so I love that. I think just shifting and thinking through this live, right? Mm-hmm. Shifting this from, because we say overcoming objections, but we don't want to tell them they're going to have all these objections. So anticipating questions might be the best way to frame that. I don't know, Stan?
Yep, totally agree there. So whether we call it questions, concerns, but basically, as you said, Bryn, anticipating, like if you were working with someone and compliance is a big issue, you could say, hey, Bob was totally prepared to help us work through all of the compliance related issues related to this project. So that type of thing.
You guys are so smart. I love it.
We try our best. Number 5, Closing content. So I did mention closing at the beginning. You definitely do want to have content specific to whenever you present that all important close, Bren, right?
Yeah. So, it's interesting, what kind of content can help us close the deal. It could be ROI, like proving ROI, right? Closing the deal could be kind of running through all of what they can anticipate as far as, these are the next steps, and this is when you could start to see implementation or whatever that might look like. It's almost like assuming the close, right? So that's right. So then the recommendation might sound something like, Bob made it so simple to get started, right? It was so easy to onboard with Social Sales Link, or working with Bob, it was seamless implementing our new X, Y, and Z. So that is the piece that will help you close the business.
Stan?
Yeah. Nope, I think Bryn covered it.
Yeah, so I think the only other thing that I would potentially add to that is Bryn mentioned ROI, and ROI, something that is measurable is always something very important, and that's going to resonate with people out there. But if you have the type of product or service or whatever that inspires less measurable things like, peace of mind, ease and simplicity, trust and confidence, those types of things, those are other things that you could potentially bring up in this type of content as well, because people do buy on emotions as well as they buy on bottom line numbers.
Even sometimes more on emotion.
Sometimes more, exactly. Depending on the type of person who you're talking to, absolutely. Number 6 is implementation content. So this is after you get the proverbial signature or signatures on the dotted line, offering easy to follow rollout timelines and things like that can help buyers feel like they have a handle on the next steps. Stan, do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, a lot of times clients will complain that as soon as the deal was signed, the salesperson disappeared. So they handed us off to their colleagues, and then I could never get them on the phone again. So if you get recommendations about how Bob helped us through the whole process, not only did he facilitate the handoff with their implementation team, but he regularly checked in to make sure that everything was going smoothly. That type of thing is magic.
Stan said it.
Stan said it. And I'm also loving how we are using me as an example and are making me sound really, really good. So I truly appreciate that.
We'll start writing them for real once we get off the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
How old am I?
I know. iPhone. What is
a phone?
What is that? I don't know. I have no idea. We're all at least Gen Xers here. So finally, let's talk about not bringing everything together, but sometimes you want to have a recommendation that just says that you were a rock star from the very beginning to the absolute very end. So sometimes you want recommendations of not everything that you did, because you don't want listings necessarily of everything that you did, although depending on how many characters you have, that might actually work. But just overall, you do want people recommending you based on their experience with you throughout the full project, whether it's an entire project or if you work in like an ongoing contracted relationship that doesn't necessarily have like an end like a project does. That's powerful for securing future business and encouraging referrals, and especially having that recommendation of someone out there saying this about you.
So I really love that. And I'm thinking, any one of your clients, you can get the whole recommendation. Again, I'm going to go back to what I think Stan said, which is write it for them, like offer to write it for them. And then you can use pieces of those full recommendations where you need it in the sales cycle. But yeah, I do think we need a few that's the soup to nuts client. But ultimately, the goal here is, Bob, you said it early on, leverage other people's voices to talk about your successes. It's so much more powerful. There's social proof when other people are saying how great you were to work together. That's it.
Yeah. That's it, Stan. Anything else there?
Yes, that's good. Just if this is one piece of an ongoing project or there are upsolving opportunities, so to speak, if they talk about how much they look forward to working with you in the future projects, that is also great, because many times there will be opportunities to add additional value to your existing clients. So it's always good if they can talk about that as well and how much they look forward to working with you again.
Yeah, Stan, looking towards the future. I like that a lot. That was really, really great stuff. So always keep in mind that recommendations are social proof of the fact that you are who you say you are and you do what you do, and that you have happy, satisfied customers who are willing to stand up for you and say, hey, this person is good for me. And because it's coming from them and not coming from you, it just means that much more to the people who are reading those recommendations. So use that social proof, not just overall, but as we've demonstrated here, for all of the steps in your sales process. So with that, thank you for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live. If you're with us live on LinkedIn or YouTube right now, or the other social networks that we broadcast to, we do this every week, so keep an eye out for our live sessions. If you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our previous shows and be alerted to new ones when new ones drop. socialsaleslink.com/podcast is where you can get more information about this shows, because we do 2 shows weekly, this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many, many more areas. So when you are out and about, be sure to make your sales
Social.
All righty. Sounds good, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great week.
Don't miss an episode. Visit socialsaleslink.com/podcast. Leave a review down below. Tell us what you think, what you learned, and what you want to hear from us next. Register for free resources at linkedinlibrary.com. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.